Paris sleeps beneath a charcoal sky, the Eiffel Tower rising like a black needle above a maze of sodium-lit streets. At 03:17 a.m., an alarm chirps in the maintenance hut. A service elevator has begun its nightly ascent, with no crew logged inside. The dashboard shows the cab climbing steadily, as though dragged upward by a mind of its own. Engineer Claire Beaumont, hazel-eyed chestnut hair twisted beneath a hard hat, leans over the control panel, tracing the phantom ride with a trembling finger. For 3 months, she has overseen the tower's billion-euro retrofit, bankrolled by reclusive American mogul Maxwell Harrington, yet nothing in the schematics mentions an automatic 3 a.m. run. Deep in the iron belly, hydraulic pistons groan. Security cameras reveal an empty cab gliding past latticework, lit only by a flickering LED strip. Claire's headset crackles as a guard on level 2 swears he hears wet footsteps, but the screens show nothing but swirling dust. Minutes later, the elevator settles on the observation deck and drifts back down. When the doors part at ground level, a syrupy, rust-colored fluid pools onto the concrete. At the center lies a leather-bound diary stamped 1890, its cover smeared with something that looks very much like coagulated blood. Claire crouches beside the crimson puddle, latex gloves squeaking as she pries the diary from the sticky floor. The liquid is thicker than blood, more like oxidized oil. It stains her fingertips the color of dried rust. Behind her, the elevator doors hiss shut of their own accord, as though eager to hide whatever secret they have just disgorged. Flipping to the first brittle page, she finds schematics of the tower's original hydraulics sketched in sepia ink. Between the drawings, coil Latin sentences written in a different hand. Ferrum vivum sanguine meo nutritur. Iron made alive, fed by my blood. A quick scan with her phone flashlight reveals pin-prick holes in the parchment where something oily still seeps. Footsteps echo. Maxwell Harrington emerges from the service corridor in an impeccably tailored overcoat, silk scarf untouched by the grime. His calm smile feels rehearsed. "Technical glitch, Ms. Beaumont. Nothing more," he murmurs, but his eyes lock onto the diary with proprietary hunger. Claire notices a dark smear already drying on the cuff of his white shirt. They return to the control room where weight sensors insist the elevator still carries 480 kilograms, even though the cab rests empty on the screen. Before Claire can speak, the blood on her glove congeals into a perfect bead and slides upward, defying gravity, toward the steel ceiling. The heartbeat in the tower's iron bones resumes, louder than before. Cold dawn light leaks into the maintenance break room on the Eiffel Tower's first level. 6 yellow hard hats rest on the scarred wooden table like severed heads, but no workers have come to claim them. Thermoses sit half-drained, jackets hang in neat rows, phones buzzing unanswered. The night crew has evaporated between a routine check and sunrise. Claire scans the clock-in log. All 6 men badged in at 02:47 a.m., minutes before the empty elevator began its ghost ascent. None clocked out. Billionaire Maxwell Harrington appears beside her, tailored charcoal suit, takeaway coffee in hand. "Negative press corrodes investment," he murmurs, a smile that never reaches his eyes. "Discretion, Ms. Beaumont." Inside the security hub, CCTV shows the crew stepping into service car number 3. The doors slide shut. The footage spasms with digital snow. When the image clears, the cab is empty, as if steel walls swallowed them whole. Frame-by-frame review reveals no splice, no artifact. The pixels insist on the impossible. Cross-checking the sensor logs, Claire sees the car pause for 7 seconds between levels 1 and 2, in a space that does not exist on the blueprints. The system labels the floor simply Z'd. Before she can react, live telemetry flashes. Current load, 77 kg, unmoving, stranded on level Z. The monitor blinks, plunging the room into momentary darkness. Claire kneels at the elevator threshold, prying the diary from the thick pool of metallic fluid. It clings to the leather, strands stretching like oil-slick cobwebs before snapping. The stench is faintly sweet, metallic, too close to blood for comfort. Behind her, the empty shaft exhales a cold draft that makes the pages tremble. She wipes the cover and finds an embossed sigil, an Ouroboros wrapped around the year 1890. Inside, an index page lists names: scientists, bankers, generals, each followed by a stamped red circle. Most entries are crossed out. One remains open: Maxwell Harrington. Claire's pulse climbs as she realizes the billionaire is not the benefactor of the project. He is its unfinished experiment. An alarm bleats. The tower's seismic sensors register micro-vibrations climbing from the foundation. Claire glances through the lattice. A gentle sunrise blushes the Seine, but the iron around her pulses like a waking artery. She sprints toward the main shaft. Elevator number 3 is descending on its own, digital weight display ticking down from 77 kg to 0 kg, as if its unseen passenger is being consumed floor by floor. Just before the cab reaches the ground, every light in the corridor dies. In the dark, Claire hears the groan of steel bending and a single heartbeat echoing through the beams. When the emergency lamps flicker on, number 3's doors part to reveal nothing but a smear of fresh crimson that drips into the maintenance pit. The diary in her hand grows warm, as though it has started breathing. Claire retreats to a basement workshop below the tower's girders. Fluorescent tubes buzz overhead while she cleans the diary with solvent and cotton swabs. The leather is warm, pulsing against her palm like skin. Maxwell is nowhere in the CCTV grid. He vanished the moment the emergency lights flared red. Inside the diary, she finds a cipher disk drawn in pencil, its letters shifted by 7 places. Applying the same shift to the Latin margins, she decodes a pair of coordinates that resolve to the Eiffel Tower itself, exactly where she is standing. Beneath the numbers, a single word appears in English, as if added decades later: decipher. Determined, she follows the decoded instructions to a narrow maintenance catwalk suspended above the first-level lattice. A cold wind knifes through the ironwork. A crimson smear, still wet, stretches along the grating, ending at a locked panel Claire has never seen on any blueprint. Behind the metal, she hears a throbbing rhythm that matches her heartbeat. Back in the archive room, she overlays the diary sketches onto Gustave Eiffel's original blueprints. They align perfectly, revealing a hidden hydraulic heart embedded inside one of the tower's legs. Next to the drawing is a final equation: 7, 5, 3. Claire realizes those are not numbers but floors, an impossible tri-level chamber no tourist has ever visited. Claire prizes the makeshift lock on the hidden panel. A square door swings inward, revealing a metal ladder that drops into a narrow shaft, glowing with faint, rust-red light. Air wells up from below, hot and metallic, as though exhaled from a furnace. She starts down, boots clanging on iron rungs that vibrate with a slow, pulse-like tremor. 15 meters lower, she emerges into a cramped vault wrapped in pipes. In the center stands a brass cylinder, a hydraulic heart, pumping dark fluid along tubes labeled for levels 7, 5, and 3. A hand crank gauge reads, "Pressure critical." The diary's sketch was right. The tower's blood is being circulated through this hidden organ. A voice echoes behind her. Maxwell Harrington steps from the shadows, clothes immaculate, eyes rimmed with sleepless crimson. "We needed one more infusion," he says, resting a blood-flecked hand on the cylinder. "Once the pulse stabilizes, the tower awakens, and so do we." Claire realizes the diary's unfinished list was never about killing men. It was about keeping this heart alive. Maxwell twists a valve. Pressure spikes. Alarms howl topside. Above them, elevator number 3 shrieks as cables tighten. Claire lunges, knocking the diary into the gears. The pages jam and shred, spewing sparks. The cylinder convulses, lights failing one by one. In the darkness, Maxwell laughs, voice echoing up the shaft as if multiplied. When the backup lamps flicker on, he is gone. The only sound is the heart, beating slower, then silent. The elevator shaft is silent for the first time since Claire began her night shift. Up on level 5, she slips through a service hatch and emerges on a narrow platform overlooking the tower's spidery core. Paris sweeps out beneath her, but the city's sunrise glow feels remote, sealed off by cold iron ribs. Then she hears it, a single metallic heartbeat, deep and grudging, as though the tower is trying to restart its own pulse. The sound bleeds from the hollow beams above. Claire climbs a maintenance ladder, flashlight beams slicing through dust motes. When she reaches the cross-girders at level 7, she finds patches of reddish oil sweating from rivet heads. Each droplet falls in perfect cadence, 72 beats per minute, the resting rate of a healthy adult. A sudden radio crackle startles her. Isla Blake's voice whispers through an emergency channel Claire forgot existed. Maxwell isn't gone, he's inside the iron, Isla says, breathless. A distorted thud echoes behind her words, like a fist pounding steel from the inside. Coordinates scroll across Claire's radio screen. 53 Baozu 0M, leg east B, a location that shouldn't exist on the public schematics. Claire crawls along the lattice toward the signal. Cables hum underfoot, freshly energized. Ahead, a single inspection panel hangs ajar, its interior lined with mirror-polished steel. In its reflection, she sees not one, but 3 silhouettes moving behind her, none of them her own. A cold draft sweeps past, carrying the faint scent of blood and ozone. She steps into the mirrored passage. Every surface reflects her in chilling multiples, yet one reflection lags a heartbeat behind. Ahead, the corridor narrows to a hatch marked only by 3 rivets arranged in a triangle, the same glyph stamped on the diary's spine. Claire presses an ear to the steel. From within comes Maxwell's voice, muffled, as if carried through fluid instead of air. Fingers push outward against the metal, leaving bloody prints that fade as quickly as they appear. The iron is trying to breathe. She smashes the hatch glass. Shards scatter and a hot, damp wind belches out. Inside, a cramped service nook cradling a second hydraulic heart, smaller, beating in erratic spasms. Faces ripple beneath its oily surface, including Maxwell's, eyes open and smiling. Overhead, elevator number 3 roars to life, cables juddering as the car rockets upward. The tower's entire frame resonates like a tuning fork struck by some unseen hand. Claire backs away as the mirrored panels flicker, showing a cityscape where every light across Paris blinks in unison, one colossal pulse. Then, darkness. 2 hours later, Claire sits in the back of a discreet black car, speeding through Paris. Isla Blake, sunglasses on despite the night, types rapidly on her phone beside her. Maxwell's not the only one, Isla mutters. The club owns at least 7 other monuments, and they're not just preserving history, they're feeding on it. They stop outside a limestone chateau hidden behind hedges near the Bois de Boulogne. The gate bears no number, only an emblem, the Ouroboros stylized in brass. Claire follows Isla past oil paintings and velvet drapes into a private library with biometric locks. "Welcome to the quietest war in Europe," Isla whispers. On a central table, thick leather-bound ledgers reveal classified architectural plans of iconic structures: the Colosseum, the London Eye, the Christ the Redeemer statue. Each blueprint features additions not found in public archives, hidden chambers, internal organs, notes about resonance frequencies and human blood compatibility. Claire realizes the Eiffel Tower is not unique, it's part of a network. A large wall screen comes alive, showing a heat map of energy pulses across the globe. The Eiffel Tower glows brightest, but other sites flicker. The Statue of Liberty's torch, the base of Machu Picchu, the top of the Burj Khalifa. Each pulse is a life consumed, Isla says, her voice barely audible. Maxwell was just a recruiter. The real architects never left. Isla points to a pulse signature near Stonehenge. This one activated 36 hours ago. Every time they awaken a node, someone disappears. Someone with a rare blood type or perfect biometric match. Claire grips the edge of the table as it sinks in. The pulse she felt inside the tower wasn't mechanical, it was metabolic. A sealed file on Isla's tablet opens with her retinal scan. Inside, Maxwell's original dossier, born 1891, declared dead in 1959, reappeared in tax records under aliases in 1975, 2003 and 2022. He was the test subject, Isla says, but he adapted. We think the tower restructured his biology. Claire stares at a thermal scan. Maxwell's chest shows a heat bloom identical to the tower's core. Suddenly the wall screen flickers. A live feed from a drone inside the tower shows movement near level Z. Claire recognizes the silhouette. Maxwell, eyes glowing faintly, tracing a glyph in the elevator wall with his finger. He's restarting the cycle, Isla whispers. If he succeeds, we'll never stop it. Claire grabs the emergency satchel, EMP kit, radio jammer, and the last blueprint they decrypted, Eiffel's final override key. Isla nods. We shut it down now, or Paris becomes their next feeding ground. As they exit into the night, every pulse point on the heat map begins to glow in synchrony. Time is running out. Claire descends into the Eiffel Tower's understructure using an old lift override key she found buried in the diary. The elevator groans as it lowers beyond level 1, past the blueprint's lowest recorded floor. An LED panel flickers, then displays a single crimson letter, Z. The doors open to darkness. A blast of warm, metallic air greets her. The space is cylindrical, lined in bronze and faintly pulsing. Ribs of iron arch overhead like the inside of a rib cage. Her flashlight catches a black smear across the floor, drag marks leading deeper in. A row of broken glass capsules lines the wall, each large enough to hold a person. Labels in faded French list names, blood types, and handwritten notes like rejected, partial sync, and unstable. One capsule remains intact. Inside floats a pale figure in dark fluid, unmoving but not lifeless. Claire approaches and sees her own face on the floating figure, slightly younger, hair longer but unmistakably hers. She staggers back, heart pounding. A monitor beside the capsule lights up, showing biometric matches, 99.6%. A button glows green beneath the word, transferer. She turns to run, but the elevator behind her closes on its own. Inside the capsule, the doppelganger opens its eyes. Claire stumbles backward as the figure mimics her exact expression, blink for blink, breath for breath, despite the fluid between them. A heartbeat echoes from the walls, syncing with hers. On the monitor, the word stabilizing and begins to flash. The chamber lights intensify. From the wall, a mechanical arm extends and injects something dark into the capsule. Claire slams her fist against the screen. The clone's face contorts in pain, then goes eerily still. A new word appears. Awakened. The real Claire watches in horror as her copy's eyes begin to glow faintly gold. Behind her, the elevator doors hiss open again. Maxwell stands within. Half shadow, eyes dull and mouth drawn in a strange, gentle smile. She's what you would have been, he says softly. Perfectly attuned. Pure conduit. Claire steps away, torn between terror and twisted recognition. The clone is not just a vessel, it's the club's future key. Alarms begin to wail. The walls shake as pressure builds. The pod's latches disengage with a hiss and the clone begins to rise. Claire grabs a maintenance crowbar, ready to fight. "I'm not you," she growls, "and I never will be." The lights cut to red, then black. The corridor trembled under Alec's boots. Somewhere above, the lift had vanished again, Not stopped, not stalled, just gone. The hum in the steel around him pulsed like a distant heartbeat. He ran his hand along the wall and felt indentations he hadn't noticed before, perfectly spaced, like markings. The emergency tablet buzzed. Level C8 access breached. Unknown signature. Alec blinked. C8 wasn't supposed to exist anymore. It had been sealed after the 72 incident, an event nobody explained, only avoided. He recalled what one technician once whispered: "If you hear anything from C8, don't check, don't listen, just leave." Alec didn't leave. He moved faster, cutting through an unmarked shaft barely wide enough to pass. The air thickened. It felt humid like breath, and from inside the walls, a scratch, then another. Not metal stress. Something alive, something following. He emerged into a chamber untouched by time. Stone walls, rusted pipes, a brass portrait fixed to the far side. A woman in an old engineer's coat stared out, eyes sharp, almost real. Below the plaque, Eleanor G. Valmont, project originator, 1887. The name matched the forgery from Chapter 2. Alec took a cautious step toward the portrait. The woman's eyes seemed to track him. Beneath the brass plaque, faint etchings shimmered under the dust. Not French, not any known language. They pulsed slightly, as if reacting to his presence. He crouched, brushing the surface gently. It was warm, almost alive. A soft click echoed behind him. He turned fast. A panel in the stone wall had opened by itself, revealing a descending staircase swallowed by darkness. The scent of ozone drifted up, sharp and electric. A gust of wind followed, but the chamber had no ventilation. It wasn't air, it was breath. Alec hesitated at the top step. A low sound vibrated upward like a mechanical chant. Then a single voice, raspy, female, whispered through the corridor. "Eleanor is waiting." The flashlight flickered. He didn't remember turning it off. He took the first step, then another. With each descent, the walls changed, metal giving way to bone-white stone veined with copper. The staircase coiled deeper, impossibly long, far beyond the tower's foundations. At the final, visible landing, a steel door waited, slightly ajar. From within, light pulsed like a heartbeat, and a shadow moved toward him. Alec pushed the heavy steel door with the edge of his boot. It gave way with a hiss, revealing a vast circular chamber lined in copper and obsidian. At its center stood a platform, suspended by nothing, hovering silently over a void that seemed to extend beyond the earth. The hum he'd heard earlier was louder now, not mechanical but melodic, like a low chant from beneath the world. Stepping inside, the door sealed behind him without a sound. No handle, no seams, no escape. The temperature rose slightly. The copper veins pulsed with amber light, like blood vessels beneath translucent skin. Then he saw her. Eleanor, not the painting, not a hologram. She stood before him, unchanged from the 19th century portrait, except for one thing. Her eyes glowed faintly, inhumanly. "You followed the pattern," she said. Her voice echoed, yet her lips barely moved. "You were never meant to reach this depth, but you did." Alec tried to speak, but no sound came out. The air was thick, charged. She circled him slowly, her presence magnetic. The copper veins along the wall brightened with each step she took. "The tower was never a monument," she whispered. "It was a beacon, a test, and now it's opening again." Alec's pulse quickened. The platform beneath him began to lower slowly into the blackness. Above, the ceiling spiraled shut like an iris. Below, no end in sight. The last thing he saw before full darkness was Eleanor smiling faintly, as if this was always the plan. The descent stopped without a jolt, just silence, vast and complete. Alec stood alone on the platform, surrounded by nothing. No walls, no floor, just blackness stretching in all directions. Then slowly, a ring of lights ignited beneath him, revealing a colossal mechanism carved into the abyss. Gears the size of buildings, rotating without noise, powered by no fuel. Symbols pulsed on the platform's edge, the same language from the plaque. As Alec stepped closer, they rearranged themselves, forming a shape he recognized but couldn't name. It struck something deep within him. Not memory. Instinct. The platform began to rise again, but the environment had changed. It was no longer the chamber he had entered. The light was colder, the gravity softer. At the top, he emerged into a replica of the Eiffel Tower's summit. Identical, but wrong. The air buzzed faintly, and every metallic surface held a faint organic shimmer. The city beyond the glass observation deck wasn't Paris. It was a darker twin. Same skyline, but lifeless. Still. The moon above was fractured. Behind him, a voice, his own, whispered, "Welcome back." He turned sharply, but no one stood there. Just a flicker in the glass. His reflection blinked independently, then smiled.